there, Sandy Allnock here from Operation Ride Home. I'm so excited to bring you some new stamps from Hero Arts that are fundraisers for Operation Ride Home. And I'm really excited because these are masculine stamps in this particular set called What a Guy. And our female heroes are going to be happy because they don't have to send florals home to their menfolk. So look at this cool stamp set. It's got great sentiments and great images. I'm going to do the background using my block for a palette. I'm going to be doing the distressing on craft paper, and it's craft paper from Hero Arts. These are distress inks. I'm using peeled paint, vintage photo, and orange marmalade. And I'm going to use a little memento at the end because I want a little bit of a black border on things, so you'll see how I use that toward the end. I need the Tim Holtz distress tools with both the foam and the felt pads, and you're going to need a couple of the felt pads just to keep changing things out a little bit. And then I'm going to stamp with Hero Arts black ink. So first I'm going to put a couple drops of the orange marmalade onto my palette, and I'm going to use my foam pad to apply the ink. So I'm going to mush it all up, make sure I get it on the pad really well. And I want to get most of it off on the side. I don't want to saturate this thing with ink. I want to kind of let the texture of the craft paper come through. So I don't want a ton of this. I'm going to wipe it off in a few minutes, but I'm going in circles so I get it on fairly evenly. And you can see I do have a little bit of lines in there. And the green then is mixing a little bit with the orange, so it's a little more brownish than its traditional green, but it's going to look really cool. You're going to really like it. So I'm, again, applying it in circles, and it looks like there's a harsh line between them, but look at this. A little quick wipe with a terry cloth rag, and it blends beautifully. And I love the texture that this craft paper will hold once you put all this ink on it. It's just really yummy kind of texture to it. I'm going to add a little bit of brown to it. You can use whatever colors you want, but remember you're adding it to create a scene. So you want a little bit of striations in it so that you can tell there's a difference between land and air, that sort of thing. Or you can make scenes with water, whatever you'd like, depending on what stamps you're going to use. But here's some samples of ones that I did. I went from orange to green. I didn't have any brown at all in this one. And here's one that has a little bit of brown at the bottom. This one has more striations, so you're going to see more of a scene in that. This one goes horizontally, but it's really dark. And here's one that has more contrast, and you can almost see the little scene develop in it. So let your inking dictate what your scene's going to be. So this one has that kind of horizontal look to it, so I'm putting the mountain where it looks like the color difference is between the sky and the ground. And I'm going to add a whole bunch of trees here for the little bear to walk into off to the right. And just inking these up on top of this. Make sure it's dry. If you need to heat dry the paper before you start, that may help. I just let mine sit and air dry for a little while. And I'm using a Copic multi-liner with a brush tip. You can use any black marker if you're going to add any lines to it. I'm just adding a little shading behind things with a little line off to the left of each tree and the bear. And I continued that mountain line under the What a Guy. Now this is fun. I've got the little felt pad out, and I'm going to make grass. Because if you apply it right and just practice on scratch paper, you can make it look like grass. I think that's pretty cool. Now you can mush it around with your towel and wipe off a little excess. You can go back in with your foam pad and soften up the edges or add a little more color to it, and just keep working it until you like the look of it. And these actually are brighter in real life than they are appearing here on camera, but it's really hard to see the white paper and the color of these at the same time. This eagle, I want to have him fly into or over a bunch of trees, so I'm just going to stamp the trees all in the corner. This ink goes on really nicely, so it covers it up, and I can stamp right on top of each other, and as the ink dries it looks like one mass of trees. The mountain, I want to have him kind of fly over the ridge of the mountains, so I'm just stamping them right behind him. And now I can take my distress tool with that felt pad on it and apply a little more of the brown ink and just create some ground underneath of the eagle, so he has something he's flying over. And you don't have to do this on every image, but I found that it added just a little bit more detail to it and made it feel really artsy. And artsy's good, isn't it? My fingers are every shade of brown and orange they could possibly be. Now this one I wanted to add a tree line to it behind the fish. He's down in the bottom and I wanted to put a tree line in the back behind him. So I'm just stamping them alongside a piece of torn paper. And I'm doing them at different heights and different widths apart from each other so they look natural. And some of them are really tiny, just the tips. And some of them are bigger trees, and look at that. It's already developing a tree line. Got my sentiment in there, and I'm just going to add now a little bit of striations for the water. And if you just go straight across, it's going to appear to be water that fish is jumping out of. And I can take the side of my distress tool and add just a little bit more along that shoreline. And you can see that it looks like a scene. Now for the really cool part, the rubber cement. I was looking at a kid's site and they were doing this craft where they put all this rubber cement down and made these patterns, and then the kids painted and they rubbed it off and had these really cool white lines. And I thought it'd be really cool to mask out some of the color. We're going to add some color on top of this to make those show up, but it's going to be really an artsy technique when we get it all done. You're going to want all of this rubber cement to be good and dry. So my recommendation is, while you're waiting for it to dry, you enjoy a little dance party, because that'll be a lot of fun. Throw your hands up so high, up in the sky. Throw your hands up so high, up in the sky. Throw your hands up so high, up in the sky. Okay, enough of that. Back to work. Exercise is good, but let's get moving. I've got some Memento ink here, and I'm going to be applying it along the edges. And there's a little bit of green left in my foam pad, so I'm still going to get a little bit of color, but I wanted it to be a little extra dark. You can use whatever color you'd like to distress this edge. But you want to go in with the foam pad because you want it to be really soft. The softer it is, the more natural it's going to look, and it's going to look like just a halo of dark around the image and really make the inside of it pop. And once we get rid of that rubber cement, it's really going to, that little area is going to glow, and it's going to look really cool. So I'm going around the entire edge. Now don't push too hard with this, because if you do, you're going to end up rubbing off the rubber cement, and you don't want to rub it off until all of your inking is done, because as soon as you remove that, then any color that you put on it is going to cover up all that delicious, crazy, creative, artsy border that you've put on it. So I've added some more ink to it. I want to make sure that my pad stays a little bit damp, because if it gets too dry, that's what's going to wipe off the rubber cement. So now the next trick is going to be to take it off, and we're going to use the felt pad, and you need a new one. If you use one that you already had ink on, you're going to get that ink right into that area that you're trying to uncover. But look how it's starting to rub off, and you're seeing the orange color that was underneath all of that. Here is what they look like actually in real life. Ah, I'm so excited. These are really delicious. All these really artsy fartsy borders, and the whole scenes that they make are just so much fun. I've used varying amounts of craft and black borders on them, so you can look at the pictures on the Simon Says blog and check that out. But look at this corner. I love the way the sun came out and the border all the way around it. I think guys are really going to like these cards quite a bit. And the grass on that one looks particularly nice too. Here's the eagle flying over into that little tree-lined section. And this one, it came out really interesting. It almost looks like a foggy bank over there. I just think it came out really cool. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. If you liked it, please click the like button down below. You can subscribe to Simon Says Stamp for lots more fantastical ideas. And if you would like to see more from me, go to sandyallnock.com. You can check out my blog and my YouTube channel over there. And I will see you guys another time. Have a creative day.